send me a thumbs up. There we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am so happy to be here with you this evening. My name is Bridget McNulty. I am the CEO and co-founder of Sweet Life Diabetes Community, and I am here this evening with musician and diabetes advocate Holly Rey. Holly, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
It's such a pleasure to have the chance to chat. We were just chatting to everyone before we went live because my blood sugar decided to go low just as I was about to go live. So I had to run to the kitchen and eat a spoonful of sugar. My kids are like, why are you eating sugar? What is happening? Yeah. And Holly has been fighting off flu this week. So we are here with all the realities of living with diabetes. But we also want to discuss the things that we've been busy with, how National Diabetes Month has been, and we are here to answer any questions that you have. And I say we are here to answer any questions. I'm pretty sure people are more excited to ask you questions, Holly, because they see my face a lot more. So I have a couple questions to get us started, and then please, anyone who wants to, feel free to ask anything you like. So how's National Diabetes Month been for you, Holly? So we're 2/3 of the way through. We technically have another 10 days to go, but I feel like Friday was the big day, World Diabetes Day. What have you been up to?
You know, the crazy thing is I feel like every month is diabetes month for me, right? Because I'm always doing like so much around diabetes. So for me, it's just been like another month of just trying to get people to understand what we're living with.
Yeah.
But just people being more aware and more receptive of it. I think that's the difference.
Yeah.
But I think obviously the diabetes summit happened and that was incredible because I think so often we feel so isolated as diabetics or as advocates or whatever it is. So to come to a community sort of forum where there are just so many people, doctors, NGOs, healthcare providers, like just everyone in the diabetes space, that was really exciting. And just to hear, you know, I think sometimes we think we know the full scope of everything and we think we know all the problems. And then you
Yes.
hear about someone like we all met Exoda at the conference, who is just an incredible human being and living in with a whole different level of problems, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that was really interesting. Anyone who's considering going to the next diabetes summit, I would recommend it highly because you just get to
Let's
connect with so many people.
Yes, let's tell people what it was. So there's an organization called the Diabetes Alliance, who's kind of an umbrella organization of all the companies and associations working with diabetes in South Africa. And they held a 3-day diabetes summit last week in Joburg. And it brought, what I thought was so extraordinary is that it brought together government and civil society, so different nonprofits and people living with diabetes and companies working with diabetes, and everyone was in the same space together, and so many healthcare workers, which was so exciting. And exactly what you're saying, Holly, I felt like I went in. So Sweet Life's passion is education, right? Education and community. And I went in and I was like, this is how you solve diabetes education in South Africa. And then I met other people who were like, oh no, like we think the way you solve diabetes education in South Africa is by training more podiatrists and getting them to make, like, spread awareness while they're checking people's feet, make sure you're not having any issues with your feet. Like, and then someone else comes in and they're like, no, the way that you do it is diabetes educators, and we need more feet on the ground. And then someone else is like, no, we need champions. And the reality is we need all of it, right?
We need all of them, yeah.
We need musicians who have a huge following to be bringing diabetes into pop culture, and we need people with magazine backgrounds to be creating printed materials that can go around the country, and we need online, and we need print, and we need in person, and we need health.
Yeah.
We need everything.
And we need all of the organizations to disseminate all the information that everyone is producing. You know what I mean? It's just, I think it was like, oh, there's a whole ecosystem that we all need to be tapping into and creating. I think that's why it was so exciting, is like, I think it's the development of the ecosystem. And that's what the Diabetes Summit is about, is how do we make sure that all of the little bits are filtering into one another and working towards a goal. And that is less people dying, frankly. It's just less people dying.
Because diabetes is the #1 killer of everyone. I'm so used to saying the #1 killer of women because that was the old stat. Now it's women and men, but it's not a lethal condition. It's wild. I just want to say hi to everyone who said Stefan is watching from YouTube and saying hello. We've got people on Facebook. Darren, I've seen your question and I'm going to save it because it's one of my questions too. It's coming up. But if anyone wants to ask any questions at all for Holly, we will happily answer. I am so happy to have you here with me, musician, superstar, pop culture icon, Holly Rey. I have some specific questions. So you have a real heart for children and diabetes. Tell us about that. Where did it come from? Was it from your own use with diabetes, or has it grown since then? Why children?
I think it's just because I was a child with diabetes,
Yeah,
right? And I know how hard it is. And I thought that my experience with diabetes was the hardest experience with diabetes. I mean,
yeah,
every single challenge you could face as a child, I faced. And then as I've become an adult, I've met so many young kids living in sort of underserved communities,
yeah,
and their struggles are 10 times worse than I ever could have imagined.
yeah,
And I think the thing is not that I didn't struggle as a kid, or anyone who maybe has a bit of privilege or access to better healthcare doesn't struggle and doesn't face
no,
challenges.
that's not what we're
But
saying.
there are kids in this country who are just struggling to just stay alive every single
Yeah,
day. And
yeah,
when you meet these kids and you hear these stories, all you want to do is help. I
yeah.
think, and that's where it comes from. And there's one little boy in particular that I work with. His name is in Jabulo in Joburg, and he's been a diabetic since he was 18 months old. And going in and helping in Jabula and hearing her story makes me realize like how many children are living in a similar situation and how
Mm,
many children need help. Because I also think in terms of type 1 diabetes, education starts with the kids, right? If you're a
yeah,
bad diabetic, or not a bad diabetic, but if you're a diabetic who struggles from a
yeah,
child, usually you become a diabetic that struggles as an adult as well,
yeah,
right? So I think that education needs to start with the kids, so they carry that into their adulthood.
yeah.
You're not trying to
And so
fix
that
a
they're
problem or
empowered.
educate later in life.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. But also that they're empowered as kids. So one of the things Dr. Michelle Careyhill from Red Cross Children's Hospital, she's amazing, and
Oh
she
yeah.
was speaking on about the CGM petition, which was handed over with, I want to say 8,600, over 8,000 signatures, and officially handed over to the National Department of Health so that kids in public care can get access to CGM. And she was saying that there's, I'm going to bungle this because I'm not a doctor, but that there's a metabolic memory. And so if you can give kids a good start with their diabetes management,
Mm,
the rest of their lives will be easier. And I think
yeah.
that's also so powerful.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
as a kid, you mentioned your struggles with diabulimia at the Diabetes Summit, which I had not been aware of before. For those who don't know or haven't heard of it, could you tell us a bit about what is diabulimia and what advice would you offer to anyone else who's struggling with something similar?
Yeah, so I mean, my journey with diabulimia is something I've only really opened up about this year.
Mm.
And it's been partially linked to the fact that at the beginning of the year, I was diagnosed with renal failure. And just kind of reflecting, I decided to be really open about that journey with my
Yeah.
followers. And my diabulimia has been something that I was very ashamed of most of my life. Even now, when I talk to my mom about it or I talk to my friends, I feel very ashamed.
There's a lot of shame
Um,
around eating disorders in general, and then
there
to throw
is,
diabetes on
yeah.
doesn't help anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I really struggled as a teenager with diabetes. Really, really
Mm.
struggled. I had an endocrinologist who was not very kind to me. There was a lot of like shame attached to my diabetes. If my HbA1c wasn't perfect, I felt like I was shamed, and I kind of rebelled against that.
Yeah.
And in an effort to fit in high school and fit in a new school, I used my diabetes to lose weight. And basically, what happens is you run your sugar high until you get ketones, and then you're basically forcing yourself to vomit and not digest your food because your sugar is running really high.
Oh,
Um, and it's part, and it is, like when I speak to psychologists about it, but when I looked at myself, I wasn't thin. And it's body dysmorphia is associated with it. So when you look
yeah.
in the mirror, you don't see some skin and bone person, you see someone who's big.
Mm.
Um, and it takes a long time to get over that, but I think the biggest thing is anyone who has a teen, it is more prevalent in girls, but anyone who has a teen, I think the biggest thing is to make sure your child feels safe talking to you, right?
Yes.
And my mom did that, and she was an amazing mom. But my doctor made me feel like there was shame associated with high
Yes.
glucose, a shame
Oh
associated.
man.
So I felt like I couldn't tell my mom. I felt like I couldn't
Yes.
tell anyone
Because
what
it
was
was
going
wrong.
on, how I was feeling. Yeah. And often when parents ask me, like, what's the biggest advice you can give? I say, if your child goes to a birthday party and they want to eat a piece of cake, let
Mm-hmm.
them. And I know
Yeah.
that sounds really, really irresponsible.
No.
But when a child feels safe to come to you and say, hey, dad or mom, I ate a piece of cake, I need to take some insulin for it, it's much healthier than them hiding it from you. Now their
Yeah.
sugar's 20 something, you don't know why, you don't know
Yeah.
how to fix it, and it creates this horrible cycle. Um, so I think anyone struggling with diabulimia, I think not sure, like you're not sure how many people are struggling with it, and it's a bigger
Yes.
problem than you think it is.
Yes.
And I think the
Absolutely.
moment you ask for help, there's always someone there to help.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest thing I needed to learn is I didn't know that there was a help out there for me.
Absolutely. And like Sunny is saying here, the pressure for textbook perfection in diabetes management, it's so real. And some doctors really perpetuate that. But it's
Yeah,
okay not to be textbook perfect. And in fact, nobody is textbook perfect. But if you
no
have the
one.
wrong doctor at the wrong time, and especially as a teenager, I think it's
Yeah.
amazing that you're speaking about it. I think it's really powerful to be speaking about it. Thank you, because
Yeah. And I mean,
there
I'm
are
very
other
lucky
people.
that I caught it early enough because for
Yeah,
most girls, diabulimia is a death sentence.
yeah,
So I'm very, very lucky that I had a family and friends who said something is wrong here. Something is very, very wrong. She needs to get like help. So I'm very lucky. But it's really not worth it. I think if anyone is going, it's not worth it. It's not worth the skinniness. It's not worth the feelings. It's not worth any of it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And how amazing that you went from that, from like a level of body dysmorphia, to be able to stand on stage and perform and like present yourself to the world. I think that's remarkable, and also, yeah, a sign of the support that you had and the family that you had. Sunny saying
Yeah.
here,
I mean,
parents
now
experience
now I'm
psychological.
one of the most confident people you'll ever come across. I
Yes,
have no body. I can be 10 kilograms heavier than I am. I still love myself. I can be 10
yeah,
kilograms less. I just love my body, who I am as a whole. And I think I wouldn't have had that if I hadn't been through what I went
yeah.
through.
And also, how amazing is your body? You had kidney failure at the beginning of the year, and look at you now. Like, and
Exactly.
you're living
Yeah.
with a condition every day. We're all living with chronic conditions every day, and look at us now. It's sorry, Sunny's comment is so beautiful. Parents should create psychological safety for their kids as best they can. Love that. Adeline is saying, hi. Hi, Adeline. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Ask any questions you have for Holly in the comments, and I will get to them. Darren saying, such an inspiration. I completely agree. You know what I find so funny is that I think we walk around every day and we are so unaware of how our bodies are just working most of the time. Like people without diabetes have pancreases that are just working, but even those of us who don't have working pancreases, like our hearts are beating and our stomachs are digesting and we're breathing and we're not in pain. And I think it can be hard to recognize what a gift that is until
Yeah.
it's in a way sometimes.
Yeah,
So how
definitely.
has diabetes changed your life?
Oh, wow. Where do I even start?
How
I
has it
think,
not changed your life?
yeah. I think I'm a completely different person than I would have been if I didn't have diabetes. But I think the biggest thing is it makes me really empathetic towards people.
Mm,
I think that often, like you said, we take a lot for granted. And I think when you live with a constant, like a chronic illness every day and something, you realize that everyone's dealing with something.
yeah,
And often it's very silent. So I think it's made me very, very empathetic to everyone around me.
yeah.
And I mean, my friends always tease me, and they're like, if I had 5 rand left, I would give it to someone else because I would
Mm,
feel like that person would need it more than me. That's the kind of person I've always been.
mm,
Um, and I think that's a superpower. And I think diabetes gave me that superpower, like the
yeah,
superpower of kindness and empathy. It's something that I think I carry through in everything. I'm always asking myself, like, well, what is that person grumpy because they're dealing with something? Is that person this way?
that's
Don't
so
meet
nice.
people with horrible things. Like, meet everyone with kindness, you
Yeah,
know.
I love.
And I try to. That is my mantra, and I think that comes from being a type 1 diabetic.
Yeah, I love that. Lolly Native has said, inspirational, go Holly, we inspired. I'm with you. This is it's such a treat for me to be chatting to you today. So any questions you have for Holly, please ask. I have a whole list and I'm just going to keep going. So what I think is interesting is that as you saw at the Diabetes Summit, there's kind of like 5 areas of diabetes that need work, and they all need work, right? So it's like awareness and prevention, education, management and access to care, research and innovation. I'm forgetting one. maybe it was research and innovation were separate. And
Yeah.
yours is awareness, right? That's the one that you have really chosen. Sweet Life is education. Why awareness? Why do you think that's important? Or do you think it's because you are uniquely placed to be able to spread awareness because you're famous? I'm curious.
I think because, I mean, any type one diabetic will tell you that probably on a daily basis they met with such nonsense about their
Yes.
illness, right?
Have you tried
Like,
cinnamon? Because I hear
have
it
you
cures
stopped?
diabetes.
Just stop eating sugar. Just put some lemon juice in your tea. Like the nonsense we hear constantly. And that nonsense is actually really dangerous.
Yeah.
And I think I mentioned this when I did speak at the diabetes summit. I think like when we speak about stigma and stereotypes, a lot of people think it's like just a mental health thing,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, we're all dealing with it, be strong. But no, for diabetics, those stigmas have very real physical repercussions. And
Yes.
I shared a story of when I was at school. I went on a school camp, and my mom had written a letter about like, if her sugar's low, she can't do this, and if it's high, she can't, like, all the things.
Yeah.
And my sugar was a little bit low in the morning, but I was still sent on a hike in the Drakensberg with a group of other teenagers, no teacher or anything. And my
Mm.
sugar started to drop. I took my sweets out of my bag. I sat down and said, "Can you just wait for me? I just need to have some sugar." And they left me on the side of a mountain by
Oh my
myself.
God.
I'm so lucky that another group came across, and two of my like really close friends were in that group, and
Mm.
they stayed with me, basically carried me back to the camp, and they were amazing. And when I got back and I said to the other children in my group, I was like, "Why did you just leave me there? Like, why didn't you tell the teacher? You didn't do anything." They were like, "Well, you took sweets out and you started eating sugar, and diabetics don't eat sweets, so we thought like you were lying,
Oh my God.
basically." And that is so dangerous. And
So
that's not
dangerous.
just me. It happens all the time. And I think having a platform, having a voice, I think that like awareness ties into every aspect of
Mm.
diabetes, right? And any diabetes care. When you're
Yeah.
aware, you want to be educated. When there's
Yeah.
awareness, there's a drive to educate. When there's
Yeah.
awareness, there's a drive to better healthcare because now patients are asking for better healthcare. So I
Yeah.
just feel awareness is the beginning of driving a
Yes.
conversation and then getting better access for everyone. So for
Yes.
me, that's what I'm passionate about. And it's obviously awareness through education as well, or awareness with education. Because you don't just be like,
Yeah.
okay, diabetes, but
Yeah.
diabetes what?
Let me not so unique.
You
Well,
know,
yeah. Yeah.
what do people need to know about it? What are the important things to know? As a diabetic, how can I get more educated? So
Yeah.
I think for me, it's like awareness, but tapping into everything.
Yes.
And that's why, I mean, I'm sure we'll chat about it later, but that's why when I was asked to be an ambassador of Diabetes Alliance, I didn't just want to be a face or a voice. I actually wanted to have a
Yes.
campaign
Not just an
that
influencer.
created tangible difference, not just
Yes.
diabetes, diabetes, diabetes,
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think what's so interesting is also the stigma thing. So we ran a stigma campaign on the 14th of May, 6 months after World Diabetes Day, because we got to talk about diabetes more than once a year, guys. Can't just
exactly.
be World Diabetes Day. And it's Diabetes Looks Like Me. I've put the link in for anyone who hasn't seen it. And when I was, I want to say like defending how important diabetes stigma was in the media, I think it's directly linked to, I think diabetes stigma is one of the direct causes of why half of all South Africans with diabetes are undiagnosed, because people don't want to be diagnosed, because then it's not fun and you can't eat delicious stuff anymore. And then you're part of this group that people look down on and
And you're gonna
blame
die.
you for giving it to yourself. And yeah, you're going to die. And there are all these other horrible complications. And so it's not just a mental health thing. There is the mental health aspect of it, but it's critically important that we start changing the face of diabetes, because if we don't change the face of diabetes, people are going to continue dying. Like half of all people are not going to get diagnosed until they have terrible complications. And so it has to be like front and center, which,
Yeah.
wait, Sunny has a comment and then we're going to lead into what you were alluding to. I think in the awareness we do, we need to try and also use South African language. Yes. I can't wait for a time where all languages are accessible. I realized this while speaking about diabetes in isiZulu on Nkosi FM. Sane, you and Siyabonga are like our champions in this. He had a interview last week where the questions were asked in isiXhosa and he answered in isiZulu, and I was like, this is amazing. And what inspires me is that a couple of years ago this wasn't true, right? Like a couple of years ago it was only white English speakers being asked to speak about diabetes, and now we are changing the face. It's taken some time, but we are changing the face, and we're actively looking for champions around the country to be representing, like Exoda is such a beautiful example, right? Representing what life is like for him in Mpumalanga and what he has access to and what he doesn't have access to. And Sweet Life has these champions around the country, and anyone who's watching who wants to be one, please reach out to us, because it's so important that the conversation isn't top down. It's not only people who have access to the internet, it should be people all over the country. So changing the face
And
of
I think
diabetes. Sorry.
also, just to comment on that, something that's so interesting, not interesting, but in the South African environment, right? In most vernacular languages, we refer to diabetes as shugela.
I know.
That in itself perpetuates all the stereotypes, right? To call diabetes, direct translation, sugar. I have sugar.
Yeah.
So
Or sugar
that in
diabetes is like the common
itself,
term.
you start off on a back foot, right?
Yeah.
Because there isn't a word in most vernacular languages for diabetes. So how do you educate people about something that doesn't exist?
Yeah.
You know, it is a Western concept. So
Yeah.
definitely I agree with that. And we have a long way to go in terms of like accessibility for diabetes education, I think.
And one of the things, we do have a long way to go. I'm inspired this year more than I have been in previous. Usually after World Diabetes Day, thank you, Adeline. Sorry for saying this is so awesome. I agree with you. Usually after World Diabetes Day, I'm mostly just exhausted. And this year I'm exhausted and inspired because for the first time we sent out these 100 diabetes DIY event boxes, and they were to people who applied anywhere around the country. We sent them to all 9 provinces. And what's happened is that people have held events at like the local police station and outside the Pick and Pay and at the hair salon and at the old age home and at their workplaces and at their schools. And they know their communities because they're doing it from within their communities. And so we sent them the materials and the education, but then they held these events. And what happens even more than the single event is that they then become the reference point for diabetes in their communities, and they've got the right knowledge and they're able to spread the right knowledge and they're able to spread awareness. And I think that's really exciting. I'm really excited to see what happens with that in future. It feels to me like we're planting all these like golden seeds around the country.
Yes.
And I'm
I'm
really
just
excited
waiting for them to blossom. Yeah.
what blooms out of them in future. So we're talking about changing the face of diabetes in South Africa. Holly, tell us about Wear It Forward so that I can now finally put Darren's message up. How is the Wear It Forward campaign going?
It is doing so well. It launched on Monday. And in the first, it's been 4 days, we've already made a couple thousand.
Amazing.
To go. I know, I am just shocked. It's been amazing. The response online has been amazing. Media have really responded to it. You know, because launching this project, if anyone doesn't know what it is, maybe I
Yes,
should
please
explain
tell
what
us,
it
and I'm
is.
looking up the link now.
Yeah, so Wear It Forward is basically an online shop where celebrities from different spheres in South Africa donate beautiful pieces from their wardrobes, and fans get
Really
the
beautiful.
opportunity to shop their favorite celebrities' wardrobes. So we have anything from like gowns and red carpet looks to everyday items. So it's really accessible and affordable for everyone who wants to purchase something from the store. And then all money goes to Diabetes Alliance to fund various projects that support children living with type 1 diabetes. So then
Yeah.
that money will be disseminated to different NGOs under the Diabetes Alliance umbrella that do predominantly camps for children living with type 1 diabetes, where they can go with a caregiver, be educated. Because if anyone understands our public healthcare system, you get about 5 minutes with your doctor every 6 months.
Yeah.
You know, and you're supposed to learn everything and get everything checked in those 5 minutes, and it's just impossible. And like Bridget also mentioned earlier, and Sunday, it's usually not even in a language that you understand.
Yeah.
So what these camps do is it gives us the opportunity to get one-on-one care to patients. There's doctors, there's healthcare workers on the camps, there's dietitians, and people just get information, right? They
And
get
meet other
access
kids
to
with diabetes,
information.
which is so
And they,
powerful.
yes, and they become a part of a community of people
Yeah.
living with diabetes. So it's not so isolating.
Yeah.
So for me, this is very exciting because it means that we get to educate people. They get to take that home. They get to become better diabetics, healthier diabetics, live longer lives, because the life expectancy of children living with type 1 diabetes in the public healthcare system in South Africa is very, very low, and it shouldn't be.
No.
I think it's just also such a happy thing, right? For
Yeah.
children to come and just
Me
have
too.
fun
Yeah.
as diabetics. Actually, at the Sweet Life picnic on Sunday, I was watching these two little boys. They are best friends and they both type 1 diabetics. And I was watching these two play, and they're going to be bonded for life. To
Yeah.
have a friend that's also diabetic that you can talk about, and that's something very special.
Mm.
Um, and I
And what
think
I think
something
is
that's,
amazing, what I think is amazing about what you've done with this campaign too, is that it's taking diabetes out of a space where people know what diabetes is and into fashion. Like
yeah.
fashion and diabetes
So
have,
that's
have not
very
had a home
exciting.
before. Yeah. And like
Yeah.
fashion and celebrities and like celebrities supporting diabetes through fashion. It's like cool and fresh and interesting. And I'm super excited about it. So I've posted the links. Please, everyone, go and spend all your money. Maybe
Yeah,
wait till
please.
payday next week. We did launch it the week before payday. So wait until payday next week and then everything will be selling out.
Exactly. I think so. I think also, like you mentioned, for me, yes, we're raising money and it's really exciting, but a lot of it is about the conversation that it's starting, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have celebrities who have millions of followers who are saying, oh, yeah, I'm putting my stamp on the diabetes conversation.
Yes. Yes.
Um, and that's, I think, really exciting and really
Yeah.
special. And from it, we've had a lot of people reach out to say, okay, well, I don't really want to buy clothes, but how can I donate? How
Oh,
can
love.
I support in another way?
Yes.
So it really is starting a conversation. And what I found with like media as well, when you just like diabetes, they talk about it, they're like, ah,
I know it's
no.
so
But
you
when you
can't.
say it has an exciting opportunity, like
Yes.
something different, let's talk about fashion and celebrity and but diabetes as well. Everyone wants to talk about it.
Yes.
So it
And that's
makes it
fair.
more
That's also
talkable.
fair. Like, so we
Yeah.
send out, we've this year, one of Sweet Life's missions is to get diabetes in the press more. So we've sent out a media release every month. And at the beginning of the year, we were trying to do like formal ones, right? Like, what is pre-diabetes? What are the facts? What do you need to know? And then after a while, people are just tired. Like, they just
Yeah.
want a nice, good news story. They want something that's fun to read. They want something inspiring. They want to hear about this amazing girl who's like a South African champ at surfing and she has type 1
Exactly.
diabetes, but she's a champ at surfing and she has type 1 diabetes. And so I also I think it's fair that like the media doesn't only want we need the facts and we need the hard hitting stuff, but then we also need a lighter face to it. So
Yeah.
that you're
And
doing
it's
it.
something that I mean this something that HIV awareness did really, really well, right?
Yeah.
Is to bring it into popular media. There was a
Yes.
series called Intersections on SABC, which is this
Mm.
drama series, but HIV was a through phone narrative and just
Yes.
educating people. And it was hugely successful because people want to be educated, but they also want to enjoy it. You
Yeah,
want
they
to
just want
enjoy the process of
story.
being educated. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's what is important for me about this campaign is people want to talk about it, but they also want to get involved, and
Yeah.
that's exciting.
Yeah. Well, we are very excited to support it any way we can. I once had a meeting at Sesame Street, South Africa, Takalani Sesame, to try and convince them that they needed to give one of their characters diabetes. And they were not so keen. And I was
Well,
like,
maybe I've
guys,
been on
they have a
Takalani a
character
few
with
times.
HIV.
Maybe we should join forces.
Yes, please do. Because they have a character with HIV. And I was like, guys, maybe one of your characters needs to develop diabetes and we
Yeah,
can work with you. I think that because, again, you don't want it to be like, kids, let me educate you. But if they're
yeah,
watching and then they see that someone has diabetes and they're still included by their friends, and maybe they can't eat exactly the same stuff, but they can still live a
yeah, have
full, healthy
fun and
life.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a lovely message here from Herbert. Thank you, Bridget and Holly Ray. Really enjoying the conversation. Does Holly feel we are doing enough as a country to raise awareness about people living with diabetes? If not, how would she like to see it being done? Whew, great question, Herbert. Big question. If
Definitely
you
not.
were the Minister of Health, what would you be doing about awareness about
The
these
first
things?
thing I would do is declare diabetes a national crisis and a
Yes,
health
so that was what
emergency.
was asked last week.
Number
Patrick
one,
Gassinger said it should be a national
it
emergency.
really should.
I mean, the
That
number one
is
killer. How is it
And the
not?
fact that it's not a reportable illness either, it's horrific to me.
Mm.
Um, I was having a conversation with Dr. Patrick as well the other day, and we are talking about, the NHS system and all of this that's coming up. And he was like, diabetes will cripple it within a year to 2 years because the government doesn't actually understand
No.
the burden of diabetes. There's no
It's
understanding,
going to get worse
right?
because of the slow moving
So yeah, number one, I think, and we spoke about this at the summit as well, is to develop some sort of registry or some sort of system where we can actually
Yeah.
count how many diabetics do we have? How
Yeah.
many people, not just an estimate, not taking something from Malawi and applying it to South Africa, because we have very different populations.
Yeah.
But something that actually says, okay, where are the people who are being affected? How many are there? How do we allocate funds, resources, medication, whatever it is, to those communities, right?
Yeah.
Number two, I think there needs to be a national campaign around diabetes awareness. We
Yeah.
need to be having ads on radio. We need to be having things on television. We need to be having every second thing you're turning on and listening to needs to have
Yes,
some
you
sort
want to
of
get bored
conversation.
with diabetes.
Yeah, but
So
also
years
making it
ago,
fun, you
yeah, yeah.
know.
I mean, bored because it's around so much, like
Yes,
so much a
and
part of conversations.
yeah. And I think if that doesn't happen, I think that the Department of Health needs to be either taken to concord, or there needs to be something dramatic or drastic that's going to
Mm.
happen, because the fact that so many people are dying is unacceptable,
Yeah.
right? Um, it's unacceptable that our women and children are suffering to this point. These are the people who are the
Yeah.
backbone of our society,
Yeah.
but we're allowing them to just die of a disease that's preventable. It's horrific to me.
Preventable or manageable if diagnosed, like manageable for everyone across the board.
Exactly. When I
Preventable,
say
like,
I mean death is preventable, you know?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And also, type 2 diabetes is preventable if diagnosed early enough. If you're diagnosed really early, you can turn it around with lifestyle and weight loss and exercise, like, and later then you take medication, but it's like a pill every day rather than
Yeah.
those horrible long-term complications. Sunny's
Yeah, I
saying we have
mean
the same
on
conversation, the need to know how many people are
oh yeah.
affected. Yeah, we just
On
don't.
Diabetes Day, we did an activation with Department of Health, and I
Yes.
was so upset with the narrative that was punted, right? Because
No.
it was just, oh, okay, you need to be healthy, eat healthy, exercise, and you won't have diabetes. Like, diabetes is a lot bigger than that, right? Healthy people can get diabetes. Healthy
Yeah.
people can get type 2 diabetes. Healthy
Yeah.
women can get gestational diabetes.
Yeah.
So when you tell people that only unhealthy people get diabetes, if
Mm,
I walk once a week, I eat my vegetables, I'm not gonna go get screened
no.
because I think I'm fine.
Yeah.
But there's so much
And it
more to it.
perpetuates the
So
stigma because then if you do get it, it means it was your fault because you were unhealthy, which doesn't help.
exactly. And I've
So I
met even
went,
people who are diagnosed with type 2 who are really healthy people.
yeah, because
So
it's
yeah,
hereditary
it's
as
very
well.
complex. Yeah.
It is very complex. And also, I feel like one of my bugbears, the thing I try and talk about as often as I can, is that a couple of years ago, they called type 2 diabetes a lifestyle disease, but a lifestyle condition. And the idea behind that was supposed to be motivating, right? It was supposed to be change your diet, lose some weight, exercise, and you can prevent type 2 diabetes. Instead, what happened is that it turned into this blame and shame game, that if you have type 2 diabetes, it's because you ate the wrong food or you were carrying extra weight or you didn't exercise enough. And nowhere in any of this were people saying there's also a strong hereditary component, like hormones are at play. There are all these risk factors that have nothing to do with your lifestyle. And then one of the things that I thought was the most powerful from last week is, I don't remember who it was someone on the plenary stage, or was it a comment actually, who said we need to stop using the word lifestyle because it's not a choice. Like, the life situation for so many South Africans, they're not choosing to be in food deserts where there's only access to processed food and they don't have a lot of access to fresh food. Like, they're not
Just high
choosing to
starch
have to commute.
carbohydrates.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they're not, like, if you have to commute a really long way home and by the time you get home you're exhausted and then you're supposed to cook a meal from scratch that's going to take a long time, like, or you could get a quick McDonald's and that would be much easier. Like, there is so, as you say, there are so many complexities.
Factors, yeah.
I also need to add to not only talk about extreme negatives, we need to hear the stories of long, healthy lives with diabetes. 100% agree. And at the same time, it's a silent killer, and 100% agree with that. That's the thing. It's holding both at the same time. Holly, I only have three more questions, but anyone who has any questions, this is your moment with Holly Rey. So we always share the 5 symptoms of diabetes. I'm somewhat obsessed with the 5 symptoms because I was diagnosed very late and got very sick because no one around me knew the 5 symptoms. So I'm going to throw them out there in case someone is watching who doesn't have diabetes. Extreme thirst, extreme hunger, needing to pee a lot, especially at night, exhaustion, blurry vision. If you have any of those symptoms, or even if you don't, good idea to get your blood sugar checked once a year. So I met with the National Department of Health 6 years ago and said, why don't we have an annual screening campaign? Like, why isn't it a thing that every year you get your HIV status? You need to be screened once a year. Why aren't we doing that for diabetes? And they said they didn't have the budget to do it for people who were under 45. It was only if you were over 45 that you were getting screened. And I feel like that needs to change. Rihanna said, I love the
100%.
real South African ya in conversation. Sekomunda are sweet in diabetes awareness. Afrikaans has a saying, so bek met jam cray. What does that mean? I don't want to so bek.
I don't speak any Afrikaans.
Yeah, and you got to explain it to us. We're both from Durban. Durbanites are terrible at Afrikaans.
Okay.
Right. Okay, so Rian's going to explain it to us now. So anyway, I was saying that we have this obsession with the 5 symptoms, but we know that some people are afraid to get diagnosed, and that's a stigma issue, and it's also a human thing. Like if you don't know, ignorance is bliss. You can get anything you want. Like you're not feeling that bad a lot of the time, except for type 1 diabetes, in which you obviously have to get diagnosed. What would you say to people who are afraid to get diagnosed or who don't want to find out their diabetes status?
Getting diagnosed and getting onto medication and getting help is the best thing you can do for yourself because you will feel better.
Yeah.
Right? Living with high sugar, high glucose is the worst feeling in the world. It is like your whole body is being pulled down to the earth constantly, right?
Yes.
You're heavy, you're tired. And honestly, the day you go onto medication and the day you make those lifestyle changes that you need to make, you will feel like a new person. It's not
Yes.
worth living in pain. It's like breaking your arm and just not going to the doctor because you're scared that it's going to hurt.
Operation.
Right?
Yeah.
It'll hurt once and then you'll be better forever. It's the same thing, right?
Yes.
So for me, like the day I got diagnosed and I went onto insulin, instantly I felt better. I was sick for like
It was
3
wonderful.
years.
Yeah.
And I instantly felt like a new person. I could do things, I could live my life. And while I've had challenges, I live my life pretty, now that I'm an adult and I'm not like not listening to my parents, I live pretty normal life.
Yeah.
It's challenging, but if not diabetes, I'd be faced with another challenge in my life, right? So I really believe that getting diagnosed is the best thing you can do for yourself because you will feel like a better new person.
And I think we don't talk about that aspect of it enough. I think there's a lot of like, oh, getting diagnosed and also like managing your diabetes is important to reduce long-term complications. And I don't think we talk enough about the fact that managing your diabetes is important so that you feel good. Like just
100%.
So that diabetes can be quiet. Like my goal in life is for my diabetes to be quiet enough so that I can get on with everything else that I want to do. And it does that when I pay it attention. It's like a very demanding pet. Like if you pay it attention, then it will be quiet most of the time and you can get on. And I agree, there's literally nothing diabetes has stopped me doing, including
also,
some
there's
like
nothing worse than like having high glucose or being in DKA, or there's nothing worse than those feelings. Like getting diagnosed and having to inject or having to take pills every day is 10 times better than the feeling of having high glucose.
Yeah, it is the worst. We have a big question here from Muturi. Speaking of activations, I was a speaker at one hosted by COJ, and honestly, as much as the event was successful, I was not really happy with the turnout. The target was old people. Okay, interesting. And instead of having an educational session, it was focused on being active. So I feel like instead of diabetes being marketed as an old people condition, children can actually get it. So we need child participation element to it. Absolutely. There are more and more kids being diagnosed.
I feel like this was the same one I was at, the city of Joburg. I feel like this is the same diabetes day activation I was at.
They were saying that
it was all about
just being healthy.
Which was so weird because they were launching a campaign that was all about food.
Yeah, and wasn't it called
it's called Asibe Healthy, Josie Kids.
Okay.
And there was just like nothing for the kids. There was nothing fun. Like I was just like DVD.
I thought you were gonna sing.
I just sang. I just took the mic. I just sang. I danced with the kids. I just felt like, who wants as a child kid to go to an event where it's just a choir singing, where there's nothing fun for you? I got the kids on stage. I got them performing. Because for me, if you want to get kids to invest in something, you need to make it fun for them.
Yeah,
Right? If
totally.
you want kids to take an interest in diabetes, you need to get them on the stage, dancing, performing, singing, like doing
Yeah,
all those things that make them feel like they want to be a part of it. But
yeah.
I definitely, that
The
seems
club
like
they
the
want to
exact
join.
same event I was at.
Warren Olga Davids has said, how do South Africans get access to international clinical trials? I have no idea. I don't think we do. If anyone else
Yeah,
knows, please
it's
answer.
very challenging because right, so South Africa obviously doesn't have the funding to bring clinical trials to South Africa, and then clinical trials that are done in countries that are determined to be like very poverty stricken, we don't
Mm,
classify as a country that lives
yes,
in severe
because we're lower
poverty
middle income. Yeah,
because we're middle, yeah, we're a middle income country. So it is very challenging. We don't have the funding to bring it, but we're not poor
we're
enough
enough
to bring
to
it
get it.
either. So we're like, we live in this really weird space as South Africans in terms of like our economy and access.
Yeah. If you could share one message with people who are struggling with their diabetes, what would it be?
Diabetes sucks,
They
but you're not
said
alone.
that at the picnic too, and I thought it was so funny because you could see there were all these kids and their parents, and they
Yeah,
said diabetes sucks, and they were all like,
because it does. Diabetes really sucks. It's not easy, but you're not alone in it. You know, it
yeah,
sucks for all of us. All of us
yeah,
live in the suckiness of diabetes, you know, and it's okay to not feel okay about it all the time.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
okay to be like, I really hate this and I don't feel like it today. But what I always say to people is wake up and just try your best, right?
yeah.
Whatever energy you have for that day, whatever
Yes,
you can do for that day, do that.
I
And
love.
then, you know, as long as you're doing the best that you can do, that's the
Yes,
best that you can do, you
and
know?
no matter what it looks like, it's not about what it looks like for other people. It's not about what your doctor thinks, as long as you are doing what is good for you. I have one more
Exactly.
question for you, but Rian has explained Afrikaans to us. So a big cord jam means a mouth like that should get jammed, but the English saying "give that man a bells" describes it more
Oh,
accurately. It's
okay.
used in situations when you agree with someone, a type of reward, sweet or alcoholic, for like-mindedness. Okay, great. I love it.
That's so
My last
funny.
question for you is, what makes your life sweet?
I think it's really changed in the last few years. I
Mm,
think if you'd asked me 5 years ago what makes my life sweet, I would have told you my career, the life I get to live, the people I get to connect with. But I think more recently, what makes my life really sweet is my loved ones.
mm,
I've got a lot closer with. I've always been close with my family, but this year, being sick and having to rely a lot
oh,
on them has made me realize, especially as diabetics, how important our caregivers are, the
yeah,
sacrifices they make. The way, you know, one person doesn't get diagnosed with type 1 diabetes or
no,
diabetes, your
no.
entire family gets diagnosed with diabetes. And I think my family really make my life sweet.
Oh, I love that.
My mom, my sister, they are the backbone when I don't have one, you know.
Yeah, I love that. Shout out to Holly. Honestly, I began speaking openly about my condition after watching your interview with PNC. So if you could share a word of encouragement to your younger self, ooh, what would it be? Bridget, the question is for you as well. Okay, Holly, you go first because you're on a roll. A
Yeah, so
word
I
of
mean that
encouragement.
PNC interview is so interesting, actually, Popcorn and Cheese, because that's an entertainment podcast. And I didn't go there expecting to talk about diabetes, but it became like a whole educational thing. So I'm really glad. And that was really far reaching, which was so amazing.
Yeah,
Um, my younger self, yeah. In terms of my diabetes, I think it would be probably what I just said, wake up every day and do your best. And your
yeah,
best is enough. Because I think as a child, I felt like I had to be perfect. When I wasn't perfect, I was failing.
mm,
But your best is enough.
yeah,
Um, so I think that in terms of my diabetes, that what I would say. And then if it just in terms of life, don't sweat the small stuff. You know,
yeah.
just don't sweat the
I
small
mean,
stuff.
easy advice to give, terribly hard advice to take. Even
Yeah, I mean, I
now.
have a 12-year-old sister. I'm trying to tell her
Oh,
that the
bless.
fact that she doesn't have a pink crayon for some drawing exam is not the end of the world is very, very
Yeah,
hard.
because it is the end of the world at that stage.
Yeah.
Marilyn has said being a family member supporting a person with diabetes is also difficult. And Marilyn, I hear you and I love that you're here. Thank you for being here. I think the family members are the real heroes. And that's kind of what we were saying on Saturday at the diabetes picnic in Cape Town. And I'm sorry it was only in Cape Town. but it was to champion the caregivers, like the friends and the family and the parents and the spouses and the moms and the dads who are there every day helping. Sunny
Because,
said,
you know,
love
at the
it.
end of the day, we are really at whoever's around us mercy
Yeah.
in certain situations. Like, if someone doesn't know what to do, then we are in the, can't say a bad word, but we are in the trouble,
Yes.
you know, in the
Say
bad
bad
stuff.
word. I think my advice to my younger self that I couldn't have given then because it wasn't true for me then, but is the truest thing about diabetes for me now is that we're all in it together. And I felt when I was diagnosed, I felt like I was the only person with type 1 diabetes ever. And that's why we started Sweet Life. I was told that I was at greater risk of amputation, blindness, heart disease, kidney failure. And nowhere in anything I read did it say, or look at these people, you can live a perfectly normal, happy, healthy life. We're all in it together. It's so hard, but at least you're not doing it alone.
There's so much like
And
scaremongering around diabetes. It's very
yeah,
scary.
and now I feel like it isn't. We are really all in it together. And I would tell my younger self, and she wouldn't believe me, that there's no such thing as a perfect diabetic because there isn't. But I believed that one for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Holly, thank you for joining us, especially after having had flu this week and after such a busy National Diabetes Month. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Some beautiful questions, some really lovely engagement here. Like, I just so appreciate people spending time talking about this and spreading the message, spread the message far and wide. I feel like also as two South African women on the eve of the women's shutdown, we cannot not mention tomorrow. I only found the like very direct advice for what we should be doing today, and so I've shared it on all the Sweet Life things. Thank you, Sane. She's saying thank you both. But we should all be wearing black tomorrow. Pausing work at 12 o'clock to lie down for 15
Well, I
minutes.
thought it was purple. I was gonna wear purple.
No,
Thank
you gotta
you.
wear black. You gotta wear
Thank
black
you for
in the
telling me.
morning in solidarity. At 12 o'clock, everyone is lying down for 15 minutes. I love that. I hate the reason. It's because every 15 minutes a woman is killed. You're supposed to not spend any money, and depending what your work is, not do work. So Shiara, my colleague at Sweet Life, and I decided that we are supporting women with diabetes in our work, so we're going to work tomorrow, but we discussed it. And then change your profile picture to purple, which I know a lot of people have already done. Yeah, big day tomorrow. And this was such a pleasure and such a joy. And I'm so grateful to everyone for being here. Happy National Diabetes Month, everyone.
Happy National Diabetes Month.
And enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.